Hi Year 9. Today you're going to be observing a demonstration of a Prac in your book on page 206, practical 6.1. It is called Forming a Compound from its Elements. So the aim of this practical is to investigate the changes in physical properties in a chemical reaction. And the materials we'll be using today, we have an electronic balance, we have some steel wool, some metal tongs, and a 9-volt battery. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so step one in our method is to weigh an amount of steel wool on an electronic balance and record its weight. I have already sectioned off and cut a piece of steel wool, so I'm just going to place it on the balance that's been zeroed already. You can see it's lighting up. We'll just let that sit for a second. All right, so it's sat on, so record that mass, guys, it is 0.19 grams. Step two, using the metal tongs, hold the steel wool and ignite the wool with the 9-volt battery. Okay, so we're just going to pick it up, place it on to the battery, just observe what's happening. Also, we've got the watch glass there to protect any additional parts that fall off. Just note any observations that you can see there. See, we've got a little bit of smoke. There's definitely some sparking there as well. Just going to let it sit there for a bit. The less contact I make with it, the better, as parts of the steel wool can fragment and come off and dislodge, so we want to try and keep that intact as much as possible. Still going quite a bit there, which is good. Okay, so we're going to flip it over now. See if we can get a bit more contact with the other side. Try and be as delicate with if we can as possible, so we don't lose any parts of that steel wool, but we will catch anything that falls off with the watch glass. We'll just make sure we have to add that to our second part when we weigh the steel wool again. Okay, I think that's enough. I'm going to go to the next section and we'll show you how the steel looks after it's been burnt. Okay, so here is steel wool that has been burnt. Just shining a torch across the top there so you can have a bit of a look. I'm going to also show you a piece of steel wool that has not been burnt. It's exactly the same steel wool. As you can see, the wool that's been burnt has become much darker. There's some, I guess, forms of corrosion there, is what you would expect to see. But the whole steel wool has changed colour, and it is much darker as it's being cooked by the battery. So I'm just going to turn it over as well, just so we can observe the other side, because both sides were cooked. Very dark indeed compared to an unburnt piece. Okay, so step 3 is for us, we're going to re-weigh our steel wool after it's been cooked by the battery. Just brush off all the residue there so we've got everything that was collected. Just let that sit for a minute, or half a minute. There you go. It looks like we've got a bit of a fluctuating final number, but there you go. So we're looking at between 0.24 and 0.25. There you go. It's resting on 0.25. So your final weight is 0.25. So that's a very interesting development. Whether you think it was going to reduce or increase in size after being burnt is a very good topic of discussion. Obviously the product that's been formed afterwards would certainly be a good topic of discussion. So your compounds are listed in your results, and discuss why you think that result has occurred in terms of the final weight.